The Council of Eternal Stars had never looked so pathetic. I'm Vorek, Senior Intelligence Officer for the Calthian Dominion, and I've seen some desperate situations in my 4 centuries of service. But this was something else entirely. Watching the galaxy's most powerful species grovel in their ivory tower while reality itself started unraveling around us. Yeah, that was new. The Devourers have consumed 17 systems in the past lunar cycle, announced High Chancellor Morveth, her 6 arms trembling as she gestured at the holographic display. The red splotches spread across the map like a disease, each one representing billions of lives simply erased. Our weapons don't work. Our shields might as well be decorative. Even the Chromath war fleets, may their ancestors forgive them, lasted only 3 hours. 3 hours. The Chromath had conquered half the Andromeda sector with those fleets. The Devourers ate them for breakfast. Literally. What about the Psionic Collective? Someone asked from the back. I think it was Ambassador Threll, though. Honestly, at this point, everyone's voice sounded the same. Panic has a way of making species sound identical. Morveth's central eye closed slowly. That was never a good sign. Gone. They attempted a mass consciousness attack. The Devourers consumed their thoughts. All 3 billion of them are now vegetables floating in medical pods screaming the same word over and over. Which word? I had to ask, even though I knew I'd regret it. Hungry. Great. Just great. The universe's most advanced telepaths had been turned into a chorus of cosmic horror, and we were running out of options faster than a rookie pilot runs out of fuel. General Crick slammed his manipulator appendage on the table, creating a sound that echoed through the chamber like a death knell. We need to consider the forbidden protocols. The weapons we swore never to use again. You mean the reality bombs? Morveth asked, her voice flat. The ones that nearly destroyed the galaxy last time, those forbidden protocols. Do you have a better idea? The silence that followed could have suffocated a star. That's when Chief Archivist Lena spoke up. She was old, even by our standards, her scales dulled by time and too much knowledge. There is one option, though calling it an option is generous. Every being in that room turned to look at her. Hope and dread make strange companions, but there they were, dancing in everyone's eyes. Speak, Morveth commanded. Lena pulled up a file that made my translator implant glitch. The encryption was so old, so buried, that most modern systems didn't even recognize the format. File designation Omega Terra, classification level burned before reading, created approximately 8,000 standard cycles ago during the Great Silence. The Great Silence. Now that was a name I hadn't heard in a while. The period when the galaxy's expansion just stopped, when hundreds of aggressive species suddenly went quiet, their empires dissolving overnight. The history books called it a golden age of peace. The classified documents called it something very different. What's in the file? I asked, though something in my gut told me I really didn't want to know. Lena's expression would haunt my dreams. A species. One we found on a backwater world in a forgotten spiral arm. We studied them, documented them, and then we did something unprecedented in Council history. Which was, we quarantined their entire sector, made it a no-fly zone, erased their star charts from every database, and agreed, unanimously, to never ever contact them again. Threll laughed nervously. That's absurd. What could possibly be so dangerous that the entire Council across millennia has maintained this secret? Lena activated the display. An image appeared. A planet blue and green and white, spinning peacefully in the void. It looked harmless. Beautiful even. I'd seen 1,000 worlds like it. This is Sol 3, third planet from an unremarkable yellow star. The inhabitants call it Earth, and the dominant species. She paused, and I swear her voice shook. They call themselves humans. Never heard of them. Crix grunted. What makes them special? Super strength, advanced technology, psychic powers. No, none of that. Their technology is primitive. Their bodies are fragile. They live on a gravity well that would cripple most civilized species, breathe a corrosive oxygen-nitrogen mix, and their planet is actively trying to kill them at all times. Then why? Morveth's voice cut through the confusion like a blade. Are we even discussing them? Lena pulled up another file. Combat footage, grainy and old but clear enough. It showed a human alone, wounded, cornered by a hunting party of Vrexian raiders. The Vrexians were apex predators. each one capable of tearing through reinforced hull plating. The human smiled. What followed made several council members physically recoil. The human didn't just fight back. It won, using tools, tactics, and a level of creative violence that defied logic. When it was over, the human limped away, humming what our analyst determined was a recreational sound pattern. The Vrexians. Parts and pieces. This is one incident, Creeks protested weakly. There are 60,000 similar incidents in this file, Lena replied. Humans, when threatened, don't just fight. They excel at it, they adapt, they improvise, they turn everything around them into weapons. But that's not the terrifying part. It gets worse. I couldn't help but ask. Lena nodded. Humans don't just survive. They thrive on impossibility. Their entire evolutionary path has been one cosmic disaster after another. Ice ages, asteroid impacts, supervolcanoes, plague, predators that should have eaten them to extinction. Every time they not only survived but came back stronger. And here's the thing that made the council seal them away. She leaned forward and her next words were barely a whisper. They haven't even reached their potential yet. Every projection, every analysis, every model we ran came to the same conclusion. If humans ever leave their world, if they ever reach the stars with their current trajectory, they won't just join the galactic community. They'll dominate it. Not through conquest, but through sheer stubborn, impossible persistence. The chamber erupted in arguments, denials, accusations. But Morvith silenced everyone with a gesture. She stared at the image of Earth for a long moment. And you think these humans can stop the Devourers? I think, Lena said carefully, that if any species in this galaxy has experienced turning certain death into unlikely victory, it's them. Plus there's one more thing. She pulled up a final document. Before we quarantined them, we left a deep space beacon, a call for help, encrypted in mathematics they'd eventually understand. If they've advanced enough to decode it, if they choose to answer, we're betting the galaxy on a species we've kept caged for 8,000 years. Crix looked ready to explode. On primitives who might not even have space travel yet. No, Morvith said quietly, her decision made. We're betting the galaxy on the one species that scared us enough to do the caging in the first place. She turned to me. Vorek, you're our best contact specialist. Go to Earth, find out if they received the beacon. And if they did, pray they're in a helpful mood, pray they haven't evolved past the point where they even need the rest of us. 3 days later I was in a stealth ship, heading toward the Sol system, wondering if I was about to save the galaxy or doom it. Probably both. Approaching Earth was like flying into a cosmic joke with the punchline aimed directly at my face. My stealth ship's sensors picked up the usual primitive signatures, radio waves, electromagnetic chatter, chemical propulsion signatures, nothing that should have worried a civilization-ending threat like the Devourers. And yet as I entered the system's outer edge, every survival instinct I'd honed over 4 centuries started screaming at me to turn around. Unidentified vessel. You have entered restricted space, a voice crackled over the calm and perfect galactic standard. State your intentions or be classified as hostile. I nearly crashed into Jupiter's orbit. They spoke galactic standard? How? We'd sealed this system before they'd even invented the wheel. This is Vorek of the Calthian Dominion, representing the Council of Eternal Stars. I transmitted back, trying to keep my voice steady. I'm here under diplomatic protocols. Responding to it. Wait, you said restricted space? Correct. Sol system is under human jurisdiction. We've been expecting someone to show up eventually, though honestly, we figured you'd have better timing. Things are getting pretty weird out there, aren't they? They knew. Somehow. They knew about the Devourers. About the Council's desperation. About everything. I need to speak with your leadership. It's urgent. A pause. Then almost amused. Yeah, we know. Dock at Station Armstrong. Coordinates transmitting now. And Vorek. Fly casual. Our defense grid gets twitchy around ships that make sudden movements. Defense grid. I checked my sensors again. That's when I saw them. Thousands of satellites. Weapons platforms. And what appeared to be kinetic kill vehicles in perfect orbital formation. My translator glitched again, trying to calculate the firepower. These primitives had weaponized their entire planet. Station Armstrong turned out to be a massive orbital construct that definitely hadn't existed 8,000 years ago. Humans in environment suits guided my ship into a docking bay with efficiency that would make Chromath dockmasters jealous. When I emerged, a human female was waiting, wearing what I'd later learn was called a military uniform. "Commander Lisa Okafor, United Earth Defense," she said, extending her hand in what the cultural database assured me was a greeting gesture. "Welcome to humanity's corner of the galaxy. Sorry about the security theater, but we've had issues with uninvited guests before." I clasped her hand carefully, remembering the combat footage. Her grip was firm but controlled. "Issues, but this system has been quarantined for millennia." Her smile had teeth. Lots of teeth. Why did humans show their teeth when expressing non-aggressive emotions? Terrifying design choice. Evolution. Yeah? About that quarantine. Turns out when you seal off a species and leave a beacon that essentially says dangerous, do not disturb, some idiots interpret that as a treasure map. We've had 3 separate incursion attempts in the last 200 years. We sent them home minus their ships and plus a very firm message about respecting boundaries. You destroyed council member vessels. We didn't destroy anything. We disabled them, confiscated their weapons, gave them life pods, and a lecture about consent. They left understanding that humans don't appreciate being treated like zoo animals. She gestured down a corridor. "Come on, Director Hayes is waiting. Fair warning, he's not in a great mood. The whole galaxy being eaten situation has him stressed." We walked through the station, and I couldn't help but notice the details. Human crew members worked alongside artificial intelligence systems, both treating each other with casual respect. The technology was a bizarre mix of practical and elegant, functional but somehow artistic. And everywhere were what I recognized as weapons, not displayed aggressively, just present. Like humans considered being armed as natural as breathing. Director Marcus Hayes looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. His office overlooked Earth, that deadly beautiful world spinning below us, and he was staring at it with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Vorik," he said, without turning around. "The council finally decided we're worth talking to. Only took the end of the galaxy. Should I be flattered or insulted? I understand your frustration, Director, but do you?" He spun around and his eyes had that same intensity I'd seen in the combat footage. "Your council studied us like bacteria, decided we were too dangerous to play with, and locked us in our room for 8,000 years. We decoded your beacon centuries ago. We know you're terrified of us. And now that you're out of options, you come asking for help." "Yes," I said simply, because what else could I say? "The Devourers are unstoppable. They've consumed species that make your worst nightmares look friendly. Our weapons don't work. Our shields are useless. We're dying, Director Hayes. And we're desperate enough to ask the monsters under the bed for assistance." He studied me for a long moment. Then unexpectedly, he laughed. "Monsters under the bed. I like that. Okay, Vorak, let's talk honestly. You're right to be scared of us. You know why? Your capacity for violence? No. Well, yes. But that's not the scary part. Every species can be violent. What makes humans different is we're stubborn, creative, and we really hate being told something is impossible." He pulled up a holographic display showing the Devourer expansion. "We've been monitoring this situation for 3 months. We've run simulations, analyzed their tactics, studied their biology from long-range scans. And they're impressive, self-replicating, energy-absorbing, adaptive. They're basically the galaxy's ultimate predator." His smile returned, wider this time. "But you know what humans are? We're persistence predators. Back on Earth, before we had weapons, before we had fire, we hunted by just following prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We're the galaxy's most annoying species, Vorak. We don't quit. We don't surrender. We find a way or we make one. So you'll help us?" "Oh, we're already helping. We've had 12 ships en route to the Devourer front lines for 2 weeks. Small, fast, crewed by volunteers who understand they probably won't come back. They're gathering data, testing theories, being general nuisances." I felt my respiratory system pause. "You sent ships into the most dangerous region of space without even contacting the Council. We figured you'd call eventually, and we couldn't just sit here while sentient beings were being erased. That's not who we are." He pulled up tactical displays that made my head spin. "Here's what we've learned. The Devourers absorb energy but struggle with kinetic impacts. They adapt to weapons but get confused by constantly changing tactics, and most importantly, they're a hive mind, which means single point of failure." I breathed. "Exactly. Find the queen or the central node or whatever passes for their brain, and the whole swarm collapses. Your council has been fighting them like a conventional war, you need to fight them like humans, which means, Commander Okafor stepped forward, her expression fierce, which means we're going to do what we do best. We're going to be creative, unpredictable and absolutely relentless. We're going to turn their strengths into weaknesses, use their adaptability against them, and we're going to keep hitting them from angles they can't anticipate until they break. Director Hayes pulled up a star chart. We'll need council resources, access to your fleet coordination, and you'll need to lift the quarantine on Earth, permanently. If we're saving the galaxy, we're doing it as equals, not as your secret weapon you lock away when the crisis is over. The council will never agree to. Then the council can save itself. He interrupted. We're not monsters, Vorak, but we're not anyone's attack dogs either. We help because it's right on our terms. As partners, take it or leave it. I thought about Morvith, about the council's desperation, about the red spreading across the galaxy map. Then I thought about the combat footage, about humans turning impossible situations into victories, about a species that survived everything their death world threw at them and came back smiling. I'll recommend full partnership status, I said, though I should warn you some council members will resist. Keyes grinned. Let them. We've got 8,000 years of being underestimated to make up for. Time to show the galaxy what humanity can do when we're finally let off the leash. As I left the station, heading back to council space with humanity's terms, I realized something that made my scales itch. The council hadn't saved the galaxy by calling on humans. We'd potentially doomed ourselves in an entirely different way. Because once humans were out there among the stars, proving themselves as the galaxy's saviors, they wouldn't just stop the devourers, they'd reshape everything, not through conquest but through that terrifying human tendency to look at the impossible and ask, why not? The galaxy had spent 8,000 years afraid of what humans might become. Now we were about to find out if that fear was justified. Somewhere behind me, I swear I heard laughter echoing from Earth, not mocking, not cruel, just amused. Humans had been waiting for this moment, and they were ready. The devourers had no idea what was coming for them. Neither did the council. Neither did I. Really. But I was about to have a front-row seat to the most terrifying, impressive and probably insane rescue operation in galactic history, led by the species we'd been too scared to talk to. Yeah. We were either about to be saved or everything was going to get very, very interesting. Knowing humans, probably both.